Okay, so the second type of circuit we've already mentioned, right? So we looked at series circuits. Now we're looking at parallel circuits. So just to kind of recap to you, I've already drawn these on that other lesson, but a parallel circuit is any time there are multiple pathways for electrons to travel on. Ah, I didn't make my negative side. Okay, so essentially the electrons are traveling, and as soon as there is a point in time where there is more than one pathway that an electron can go on, this is considered to be a parallel circuit. So remember, a series circuit is where there's only one pathway. So here we have more than one path for electrons to flow in. So the relationships between current, potential difference, and resistance are going to be different because we have a different type of circuit here. So let's look at current first. So current is actually additive in this particular type of circuit. So this should kind of make sense. Let's do one for an example. Versus series. Okay, so here, remember that series circuit has only one pathway. Let me just do this as a different pathway to kind of show this. Okay, so for current in a series circuit, it does not matter where you measure the current is always the same, no matter where. And that's because, remember, current is a measurement of how many electrons are passing by within a certain amount of time. So all of the electrons are forced to still be on one path. So the amount of electrons here is the same as the amount of electrons over here. However, in a parallel circuit, remember this fork in the road that happens, some electrons are going to go down this pathway, and some electrons are going to go down the other pathway. So at this point in time, let me use a different color here. Okay, so at this point in time, before this fork in the road, all of the electrons are together. And over here, after the fork in the road is finished, like they come back into one, they rejoin up onto the same circuit. So that means that on this area and this area, the current will be the same because the electrons are all together. However, if you had to measure, let's use blue. If you were to measure the current here, it is going to be different than if I measure the current here. They will not be the same because it's a different number of electrons. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, oh, it's probably equally split, like 50% go this way, 50% go that way. Not always, okay? So let's say I had the current here. Let's say the current at this spot was 3 amps, okay? So when all of them are together, the current is 3 amps. So here on where we have that highlight yellow, we have 3 amps. However, maybe on this current location, I have 1 amp. What that would mean then is the remaining electrons would have to have come onto that second pathway. So when they are together, it has to add up to what it is on this main pathway, because if you split them apart into multiple paths, those have to add up to whatever it is when they're together. Okay, I'll do another example. Okay, so now I have 3 pathways. So the electrons can go here, they can go here, or they can go here. However, at this point in time before that first split, and here, they're all together. This is this is what's also known as the current at the source, or total current, okay, when they're all together. But the different locations, maybe I have I1, I2, I3, these all together must equal this. Because all of the pathways individually should add up to whatever it is when they are all together. So if I have 1 amp and then 2 amps and then another 1 amp, all together when they're on this highlighted portion should be, right, 4 amps. Okay, so they're basically, the electrons are split, they're divided. There's multiple pathways. It's kind of like, think of this as cars on the road. So all the cars on the yellow spots are forced to be on the same road. And then now over here, some are going to turn left, some will go straight, some will turn left, and some will go straight. So the number of the cars on the road can change. But when they have to all come back together on this single road, they have to be accounted for. So like all the cars come back into one spot. Okay, so that's current. Potential difference, or voltage, is actually the opposite of what it was in series. Here, the potential difference, I keep saying potential voltage, but the voltage does not have to be split between the different loads. Okay, so let's review that. So let's do a series first. Ooh, messed that one up. That's a light bulb. Sure, it's out in a switch. Okay, so electrons are flowing. So remember that the voltage at the source, right, let's say we had 10 volts. Basically, this is like the energy the electrons are spending along this path. And voltage is really spent at loads, right? So that means some energy is going to be used at each one of these light bulbs. So let's say this one was 6 volts. That means the other one was 4 volts, because on this pathway, as they're traveling, it's going to spend energy at each of these locations. But to compare that, when you have only one load on that path, so let's say again I have 10 volts, okay, so some electrons are traveling on the green line and some are traveling along the red line. Right, so notice the red and green are together in some points. But if you follow the green loop, there's only one load that those electrons pass through. If you follow the red loop, there is only one load that those electrons pass through. So that means that 10 volts, if the battery difference is 10 volts, there's only one load for that energy to be used up at. So it has to be whatever it happens to be at the battery. Whereas over here, those electrons are all on the same pathway and they need to pass through 2 loads. So it has to split, or it has to basically be divided amongst them. So here, when you have a parallel circuit, there's no dividing for the voltage. It's being used at that single load. So that's why whatever the voltage is of the battery, it's equal to the different loads in that parallel circuit. Okay. Now, resistance is a little bit more difficult to understand. Okay, so etc. So it depends on how many loads we have. So the resistance in a parallel circuit, is not the same as series whatsoever. So series is where they just simply add up, similar to how current is here. This is known as Kirchhoff's law. Okay, you go into more detail in this in grade 11 physics. But what's happening here is basically 1 fraction of the load resistance of the battery is equivalent to fractions of the load's resistance for each of the sequential loads. So what does this mean? Essentially, we're going to have to do a calculation. It's not going to be as simple as calculating current and potential difference. We're going to have to do essentially division as we go and solve for RS. This will actually make more sense once we do an example. So I'm just going to do something very quick here to show you how we can go about solving this. And then we'll do some more examples. Okay, so let's say the R total was 1 ohm. Okay, actually, no, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to solve for this. Okay, so R1, let's say, is 10 ohms, and R2 is 15 ohms. Okay, we want to solve for RT. So the formula is 1 over RT is equal to 1 over R1 plus 1 over R2, or however many there are. So in this case, there's only 2 loads, so we're only going to be doing 2. But if there was 3 loads, we would do another 1 over R3. If it was 4, you do 1 over R4. Now what we're going to do is we're going to plug in the numbers to this formula. So we're going to have 1 over RT is equal to 1 over 10 ohms plus 1 over 15 ohms. Okay, now the method I'm going to show you how to do this with is the simplest way that I've seen be done. Okay, I find students understand this the easiest. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of these fractions. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to divide this out. So we're going to have 1 divided by 10 plus 1 divided by 15. Okay. So this is the only time I will allow you to not put in a unit. You're just going to put the number here. So 1 divided by 10 is 0.1 plus 1 divided by 15, which is 0.0667. Let's say let's round that. Okay, because it's a 6 repeater. Let's now combine this to make one whole number. So this is going to be plus 0.1, so we're going to have 0.1667, let's say. Okay, so once you get to this point where you have a single number equal to 1 over RT, what we're going to do is we're going to swap the places of these two values. So it's going to become 1 over 0.1667 is equal to RT. So if you do 1 divided by 0.1667, we get an RT value of 5.9988, which is essentially 6 ohms. Okay, you're going to see me repeat this again when we do another example. But honestly, this is the easiest way that I've seen be solved. Instead of, you could find the lowest common denominator and then add the fractions. But these are very simple numbers with 10 and 15. You might have some weird ones like 7.51 or, 9.887. So when it's something simple like 10 and 15, sure, you can find the lowest common multiple and add them. But this method works every single time, even if you have a weird denominator number. So you plug in the values, you divide them out to get rid of the fractions, you add them up, and then you swap places with the RT and your final answer to get what RT is equal to. Okay, we're going to do another example in the next part, I should say.